We need a deal. We need to be realistic and not petulant children who think that it's always better to fight with the Americans than work with them.
Carney's team got ghosted. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, Mark Carney's team has left Washington because no one will speak to them. This is humiliating and embarrassing. We've also got Anita Nand having to shut down her constituency office because the protesters have made it too dangerous. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got Pierre Poilievre saying one of the only major pipeline companies in Canada says they're moving more money, jobs, and construction to the U.S. because the Carney Liberals are making it impossible to build here. So he's talking about Enbridge. Enbridge sees strong demand in U.S., hurdles in Canada. Another elbows down concession by Carney to the U.S. It's interesting if you think about it. What did Brookfield just buy recently? Well, Colonial Pipeline, of course, one of America's biggest pipelines. It's almost like Mark Carney's consolidating his assets. So let's break this down a little bit. So Brookfield bought North River Midstream, that's what it's called now, from Enbridge. This is a natural gas production plant. So if Enbridge moves down to America more and they start moving more of their business, Brookfield could buy up more of Enbridge's properties in Canada. Also, with Enbridge moving more to America, Brookfield often co-invests with different companies in friendly regulatory environments like America. Canada is not friendly at all, so it's quite possible you'd see Brookfield invest with Enbridge in America as they build out more pipelines, more infrastructure. They could co-develop, they could work with Colonial Pipeline or other projects that benefits both companies. So really, this is all benefit for America or Brookfield, not Canada. Gotta boost the price of these stocks now, doesn't he? And this one here ties right in. So Mario posting almost every stock was in the red today, except Enbridge. We decided we're going to be allocating capital predominantly in the US. And there it is, Enbridge stocks up today, not down, despite a lot of stocks being in the red. This guy, Will Poole, posting this canceled projects, just billions of dollars of Canadian projects canceled. We would be so rich right now if Justin Trudeau wasn't the Prime Minister for the past 10 years. And Mark Carney is nail in the coffin. In other news, we've got this one. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Nand closes constituency office citing safety concerns. You just can't get away from it. There's too many goblins and goons in our country. Got Ambrand posting this one, the same story. Miss Anand did not specify the nature of the incidents, but she did say she's working with security services to resolve the issue. This decision is not taken lightly, as the work of my constituency team is important of the residents of Oakville East. However, the safety of my team and constituents visiting the office is paramount, Miss Anand said to Globe and Mail. The Oakville Beaver reported that Miss Anand's constituency office manager, Elizabeth Chalmers, said the decision to close the office was primarily the result of pro-Palestinian protests outside the office. There it is. Oakville for Palestine, a local advocacy group, has often posted photos and videos of its protests outside Miss Anand's constituency office to social media. If it isn't the consequences of one's actions again. These pro-Palestine protesters are so aggressive and dangerous that she has to shut down her constituency office. What do you think of that, Anand? Now, here's one of those protests. This was back from May 21st.
Anita Anand,
why are you a woman? Why are you a woman? Leave her.
These people are insane. I can't play most of this footage. The stuff they say is so vile, I can't even put it on YouTube. That should say enough right there.
Free Palestine! Don't touch it! Don't. We are not going to get liberation.
You're not going to get liberation unless you go back and fight, guys. Our country's not safe anymore. They've allowed people to come in that are dangerous to us. And that's not even just me saying it. That's Anita Nand. She's shutting down her office because these people are too dangerous. And what does Carney do? He rewards them. What a joke. Got this one here from CTV Edmonton. NDP says consultations show Albertans not in favor of separating. Really? What kind of consultations? This is way too generic of a statement. Also, this one from NDP Carla Beck in Saskatchewan. She's calling Scott Moe weak for not fighting back against Trump. That's coming from this post here. Saskatchewan Premier Moe says Prime Minister Mark Carney should be removing counter tariffs against the United States to get a deal done with President Trump. Great idea. There's no point antagonizing the guy who has all the power. Remove the counter tariffs. Put everything on the table and say, let's make a deal, Trump. Yet we got people like Carla Beck, leader of the NDP in Saskatchewan, still doesn't get it. You're just going to fight back and win? That's not how this works. This is the equivalent of Americans being a German Shepherd and Canadians being a Chihuahua. And we have to learn how to share the steak versus trying to scare away the German Shepherd. Meanwhile, we've got this one from Trump saying, based on the highly provocative statements from former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, who is now the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, I've ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in appropriate regions just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements statements are more than just that. This is crazy, like getting ready for WW3. And while we're talking about Trump, we've got Mark Carney's team, Dominic LeBlanc and the whole gang in Washington. Well, they're leaving Washington because no one is talking to them. That's right. None of Trump's team will talk to them, so they're leaving.
The lead minister on the file is coming back from D.C. tonight without meeting with any new Americans today. But Dominic LeBlanc's office assures us he is keeping in touch with his U.S. counterpart, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
Is this that famous elbows up that they've been talking about? Canada's priorities. Chips and hummus, drag queens. Yeah, I can't read this stuff. Dairy cartel. Yeah.
So far, Trump has averted a global trade war of his own making by signing several trade deals and granting a 90-day extension to Mexico, citing unique complexities.
Look at this here. So making that big for a second, you can see Brazil's got a 90% tariff. So I believe that puts Canada in 6th position from the bottom, 35th position from the top, something like that.
Internally, Trump's tariffs are facing potential stumbling blocks. 2 small businesses are legally challenging Trump's tariffs, arguing in federal appeals court that the president doesn't have the authority to impose tariffs without congressional approval. The case will likely head to the Supreme Court. For Canadians, it's wait and see as to how this tariff increase will impact businesses and consumers.
So Trump having to fight this in court now. Moving over to the Toronto Sun, listen to this.
I think, and I have no inside knowledge, that Carney and his advisors have decided that it's politically astute to not make a deal at this point, to allow the Canadians to believe this is all Trump. He's nuts. There's nothing we can do. I think it's a deliberate policy now. And the problem...
I think that's what's happening here, too. They're just going to blame everything on Trump, just like Justin Trudeau blamed everything on Stephen Harper. Even though they brought in Stephen Harper for his advice, they blamed Harper for everything. Now they can blame Trump for everything. The Liberals are like a toddler that never grew up. It just blames everyone and anyone for all of their mistakes in life.
The problem is that, look, we haven't had the disaster that we thought we were going to have back in April, and that's because of delays and of all these things. But this what's going on right now is corrosive, especially in 2 provinces, in Ontario, in southern Ontario, Windsor, the Toronto rate, and Quebec. Why? Because Ontario is a big producer of steel, and Quebec is a big producer of aluminum. So what I find...
And Quebec is the biggest producer of dairy, which is destroying these other industries because there's stupid enshrined law. One Canadian industry is destroying a bunch of the others.
Shocking is this idea, it's only 10% more than the 25%. CUSMA covers already most of the goods. But what about the sectoral tariffs that are going on? I'm not confident that our government is doing the best things in the economic interests of Canadians, as opposed to the political interests of the government.
Well,
that's interesting hearing that on the Toronto Sun. I say it all the time, but having it from a news publication on their own YouTube channel.
And that's really one of the biggest challenges here, Brian, is looking at their own singular electoral fortunes, the Liberals are, which should come as no surprise to anybody, as opposed to looking at what's happening in this country more broadly. I know that there have been meetings with premiers, and Doug Ford in Ontario is Mark Carney's biggest champion, and I'm sure Doug Ford's going to be all over American media, crapping all over Donald Trump and saying how he can't negotiate with him. Though there's not a lot of pushback on those types of interviews because there's not a discussion about, what's happening within our own borders. Canada's problem started way before Donald Trump became president 6 months ago. So there's not that part of the discussion happening. It's far easier, as Lori points out, to blame the United States, blame Trump on this. From your reporting and covering this from stem to stern, do you see anything changing? 'Cause Trump said last night, we don't like the way our farmers are being treated. I mean, so there is a lot being thrown out there than Canada's recognition of Palestine, which is insane, but they threw that monkey in the ring. Like, what is Canada thinking?
Well, on the issue of dairy, which Trump continues to bring up, there is this, we will not surrender anything within our dairy sector to the big bad Americans. And so there is this narrative of the Carney government or Doug Ford or, whichever leader is standing up to the United States and he's trying to take away our supply management system. I have been saying for months that is not what the Americans want. What they want is for Canada to respect the letter and the spirit of the agreement that we signed in 2020 that they immediately had to take us to a trade dispute over because why? We said you can have 3.5% of the Canadian market open to your exports. By the way, we export too, and we want access in other countries. We just don't want to give access to our own. So we said, yes, we can increase it to 3.5%, but we will hold the quota and give it out to Canadian companies. Of course, those Canadian companies not importing American goods. And so the Americans have been fighting us on that. They just want us to live up to what they felt they negotiated back then. Now, I've been saying that for months. People are saying, no, he wants to dismantle supply management. Great reporting by Mike Crawley I'm going to shock you here, at CBC. Crawley, who's normally here at Queen's Park, was down in Washington for the past while, spoke to all the Americans. No, they're like, leave your supply management as it is. Just don't treat us badly. And that's what we consistently do on dairy. But, this narrative that we're going to stand up to the Americans and we'll punish them with our, counter tariffs is a false one. You can go back and look at what happened in 2017 and 2018 with the tariffs on steel and aluminum. And people will still tell you, whether it's Justin Trudeau or Doug Ford, that us putting tariffs on bourbon and playing cards is what got the Americans to heel. Nope. As I reported at the time, as I've reported since, you look at the actual joint declaration. Why did Canada get those tariffs lifted? Nothing to do with bourbon or playing cards. It's that we agreed to stop letting China ship steel through Canada and call it Canadian. We actually dealt with the issue and the irritant on the table. What the Carney guys seem to be doing is not going for a deal for political reasons and then allowing these false narratives to play out. It looks good to thump your chest and say that you are looking out for Canada, but what about the people whose unemployment is on the line or who are already unemployed? It's up to 12.4%, I believe, in Windsor. We're about 9% in Toronto, 8% in Hamilton. Those numbers are going to go up. In Algoma, do you think Algoma Steel's going to stick around unless the government keeps bailing them out with these kind of tariffs?
That's just it. We're going to have a bunch of companies go down to America. That's what Trump wants. And Carney's letting him do it. That's a great take by Brian Lilly there. Mentioning China, Chinese steel flowing through Canada. We see this coming from the Globe and Mail. Posted yesterday, is China a better trading partner than Trump's America? What is this? The Globe and Mail tied to the Century Initiative, Justin Trudeau, Dominic Barton, the Liberal Party. They all seem to have an agenda. They're pushing the same agenda. Maybe Mark Carney didn't want to negotiate anything regarding China because he didn't want to upset his real master, Xi Jinping.
We need a deal. We need to be realistic and not petulant children who think that it's always better to fight with the Americans than work with them. But that attitude plays for a lot of Canadians, especially in the laptop class or retirees who don't have to worry about making sure that they've got a job next week.
There's so many people that aren't going to be losing their jobs or don't have to work or aren't working anymore. That's easy to say, elbows up, we'll fight against Trump, we'll fight the Americans, when really it doesn't affect them. The Laurentian elites don't care about the rest of the Canadians who actually are working and paying for this country. I missed the part where Carney even attempted to get a deal. It seems that would go against his intended mission. Wouldn't want to affect his stock value, now would it? It's the unraveling of Canada's economy in real time. If you stack the EV mandate onto these tariffs and you're seeing multiple industries, companies just getting wiped out in the matter of the next 6 months, Carney is going to be wearing a burqa and a Palestinian flag tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised. You know what? I showed yesterday on Mark Carney's X account here. He put out that footage of aid going to Palestine. Today, what does he put out? Confederation Bridge. I don't know what his media team's doing. There's no audio on these videos either. It's stupid. The other one was, 45 seconds, maybe a minute long with no audio. Confederation Bridge. Yeah, that doesn't help most Canadians. 99% of us will never drive on this bridge. Next up, we got an interesting story here talking about immigration cuts threatening northern BC businesses. This is one of the rare cases where they need more people up there working, but because of how the rules are set up, they can't get more people.
Prince Rupert is home to the third largest port in the country. Good unionized jobs, according to business leaders, allow young people to move up quickly and afford a house within 3 years. But they say the local economy is at risk because of federal government changes to immigration and work permit policies.
Right now, we have 2 permits that are under siege.
Temporary foreign workers, which fuel the service industry in the northwest coast city of 14,000, including 90% of the staff at John Farrell's sushi restaurant, and international students, which he says are no longer coming through the college.
That pipeline was cut by the federal government.
In 2024, Immigration Canada capped study permit applications to ease the strain on housing, healthcare, and other services. A measure it says has reduced the number of incoming international students by about 40%, while employers can hire no more than 10% of their workforce through the TFW program, and workers can only stay for 1 year instead of 2.
We're capped. We can't bring any more workers in. So once a worker leaves, we're just that much further down the hole.
The domestic workforce just simply is not available.
Temporary foreign workers make up more than 60% of the workforce at the local McDonald's.
These individuals are not just filling positions, they're the reason our business is able to operate day in and day out.
At Ray Peterson's construction company, most of the employees are foreign workers on temporary visas.
My business would disappear overnight, and all my customers would be disappointed if we didn't have the guys we need to deliver the service. They need to get the work done.
If we don't stem these policies, then really our town's going to collapse.
The community is asking the feds to reconsider the impact of these changes on what some consider Canada's friendliest little city.
Given the immense wealth that we generate in the Northwest, it doesn't make economic sense for Ottawa to be punishing us so severely.
This is a simple fix. Once again, this is the Liberals just rolling out another policy and not doing it right. When they cut the numbers, they should have some sort of review in there per city. And if the city says, hey, we actually need more people, they can look at it and say, okay, we're going to change the rules for that city. In this case, rural Prince Rupert, to allow them have more temporary foreign workers. This is not rocket science. If this is a problem in most cities, but there's a couple that are outliers, they should just have individual rules that override it for certain cities, or towns in this case. Is a small town. Translation, we can't underpay Canadian citizens. I mean, in the case of Prince Rupert, it's so small, there's not enough people there, so that's really the problem. Northern BC businesses addicted to paying low wages want a never-ending flow of third world laborers. Maybe you should have hired Canadian workers instead of relying on foreign workers so you can pay them cheap. Oh, there's a lot of comments in here, people pushing back against too many foreign workers. I mean, we've seen way too many foreign workers taking Canadian jobs, so are we surprised by this? No, Canadians are pissed off because it's really hard if you got a kid right now that's 17, 18, 19 that's looking for a summer job. They can't compete. There's no jobs. They can't get a job. There are no jobs because there's been too many foreign workers. But we could change this system and just allow rural towns who need more, give them more access. But it should be done in a way where you allow Canadians to apply first, and if there's no Canadian, no local applying for those jobs 3 months later, then increase the number of temporary foreign workers after 3 months. It wouldn't take much to fix this system, but of course the Liberals are not going to do it because they're buffoons. And as a lot of these people are pointing out, I mean, if they started paying more, they would get some local workers. I guess it really comes down to how many young people are in Prince Rupert. This is going to be different city to city. Meanwhile, in a Walmart Edmonton parking lot, we've got 4 people stealing $1,500 of groceries. This just makes it more expensive for us. They increase the prices to make up the difference that these scumbags have caused. It's not exactly a cheap vehicle either. Jail. Get the plates, get the plates. Good, good, good. Anyone wants to run that in there? Press some charges? Walmart, you guys want to put these people in jail? We can sign a petition. We can put this through Parliament, make sure they go to jail. Look at this. This is a Mercedes. Put them in jail for a year each. See how they like it.